Now, the annual Steve Biko Memorial Lecture hosted by the Steve Biko Foundation is set to take place at the ZK Matthews Hall at the University of South Africa in Pretoria. This year's lecture will be presented by former President of Mozambique, Jorge Chissano, and will focus on commemorating the 38th anniversary of the murder in detention of Stephen Bantu Biko, among other things. To tell us more about this lecture is the CEO of the Steve Biko Foundation, Obenewa Amponsah. Is that right?
That is correct, Leanne.
It's so nice to have you in studio.
Thank you
so much for coming in. So, I mean, the Steve Biko Foundation, let's first start there before we get to the lecture. What really is the objective of the foundation?
Well, basically, the foundation is a community development organization that is clearly inspired by the legacy of Steve Biko. And in our work, we focus on what I call the 3 C's. The first is consciousness. Who am I? The second is community. What is my place in the world? And then the third is core skills, helping people to develop the ability to take their ideas and actually make them a reality. And we do that through programs in the area of arts, education, enterprise development, as well as sports, and as tonight's program indicates, international dialogue as well.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to what's going to be happening in the dialogue. So we're talking about the 38th anniversary now of the murder and detention of Stephen Bantu Biko. What are the themes that we're looking at this evening and during the lecture?
Well, this year we're looking at 3 main themes. The first, of course, is Biko himself. He quite prophetically said that it is better to die for an idea that will live than to live for an idea that will die. And I think the fact that nearly 4 decades after his death, we're gathering in Pretoria, where he actually died, to pay homage to him just speaks of the fact that his legacy is still very relevant today. Yeah. And we'll be examining what that relevance is. The second main theme we'll be looking at during the course of the lecture is really Mozambique itself. This is the 40th anniversary of their independence. Joaquim Chissano is someone who has seen the continent move from colonialism to post-colonial struggle to the 21st century. So he'll be looking at that and particularly looking at the interconnectedness of Southern African liberation movements. Many of your viewers will know that in 1974, a rally was actually held by SASO and the Black People's Convention, really to support Frelimo. It was called the Viva Frelimo Rally and their quest for independence. And as a result of that, a protracted trial was held over a period of about a year. And that became known as a trial of ideas. And because many of the people who were part of BCM were banned, this trial really presented an opportunity for them to make the movement known to a broader audience. And so we'll be looking at the significance of that moment as well tonight.
Okay, wonderful. There's so many, while you were saying some of the themes that are going to be touched on. I mean, there are many ideas that have been coming through my head and how relevant it is. I mean, when you think of Steve Biko and you look at what the students were doing just a few weeks ago and what they're still doing now, I mean, that screams very much so his ideals and his legacy and what he stood for. I mean, are these some of the issues? I mean, when you choose themes, what do you look at? I mean, what is it that you want to get across more than anything?
Well, I think it's exactly what you're talking about. What is relevant? What is happening today? I think it was Frans Ferdinand who very prophetically again said that each generation out of relative obscurity must find its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. And so for us at the foundation, it's not about being prescriptive. It's really about serving as a platform for dialogue, for people to find their mission, so to speak, to figure out the ways that we can work together to create the types of societies that people like Steve Biko lived and died for. So it really is about looking at the contemporary relevance of Biko's legacy, not just what it meant in 1977, and understanding that we all have or ensuring rather, that we all have a common understanding of what that legacy is.
Yeah, it's quite incredible that you've got the former president of Mozambique that's going to be delivering this. And I know you did touch on why he was chosen and some of the themes that he's discussing. But it's quite relevant at a time like this when our country really went through a bad patch of xenophobia.
Yes.
And I mean, it was just yesterday that we saw a former Mozambican national who was, brutally killed by our police, and they were handed down a sentence of 15 years for this, showing that we do not tolerate this type of stuff. It should not be happening. Again, another issue, a very, very relevant issue, xenophobia, and talking about the acceptance. Is that something perhaps that's also going to be looked at?
I do believe it's something that will be be looked at. And I also believe that he will touch upon issues of African identity in large, because when you look at issues such as xenophobia, when you look at issues such as Pan-Africanism, it really is a question of who are we and what is our relationship to one another. And again, we're really encouraging people not just to listen to tonight's lecture or to watch on SAB 404. It's also about how they continue the dialogues in their individual spaces. And we are doing that at the foundation through a campaign we've been running since the 12th of September, the anniversary of Biko's death. It's called Biko to Me, and it will conclude on the 18th of December, his 69th birthday. And what we're doing is we're encouraging people via Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, even good old-fashioned snail mail, really to let us know what Steve Biko means to them when they think of issues like xenophobia, when they think of enterprise development, when they think of identity. Who is Biko to you? And that will really be our contribution in terms of carrying forward the conversation.
Lovely, really nice. I mean, it's a lovely question to ask our viewers as well this morning. I suppose on just a few hours before this lecture is given, what does Steve Biko mean to you? What does the legacy mean to you? What does the thought and the hearing of his name mean? SMS us as well. We'd love to hear from you. Add that to our timeline so we can remember the legacy of Steve Biko. You talk about the fact that it's going to be broadcast live on SABC 404, which is wonderful. That's right. What time is it going to be happening?
6 p.m.
Okay.
It will also be on UNISA Radio, and people will be able to follow along on Twitter. Our handle is @Biko Foundation. Again, it's the hashtag for tonight is BikoLec, BIKOLEC. If your viewers happen to be in the Eastern Cape, we'll be having a screening at the Steve Biko Center, literally down the road from Steve Biko's home. 5:30 for 6 p.m. And there are also groups gathering around the world. For instance, in Liverpool at the Steve Biko Housing Association, groups are gathering there. So we also encourage people, if you're hosting a gathering, please tweet us, let us know, we'll spread the word.
Magic, right. Just finally, for people wanting to attend the lecture, is it an invitation only?
It is open to the public.
Yeah.
We are fully booked, though, I'm glad to say it, at about 1,000 people attending tonight, full to capacity. But again, we do encourage people to call in, to phone in, to tweet, to send us messages on Facebook, and we'll engage in whatever way possible.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for talking to us this morning. Thank you for bringing in and reliving the legacy and the memory of Steve Biko. So today you're going to be seeing it happening. Well, not today, I suppose, this evening at 6 o'clock. If you cannot get to the lecture and you're not in any of those areas that we told you, just stay at home, watch it. 6 o'clock this evening on SABC News, Channel 404. We'll be showing that one live, where, of course, the former Mozambican president, Jorge Chissano, is the guest speaker there this evening. Looking forward to hearing what he has to say. Thank you for being with us. CEO of the Steve Biko Foundation, Miss Obenewa Amponsah. It's beautiful. Okay. I'm glad I'm getting it right. Thank you for being with us. It's really lovely to have you. Let's take a break. We'll see you after this.